Hi again. I don't know what's going on. Every time I'm to continue on these videos, something is always happening. So, God is working. The devil will give you a fight if the message is intended to bless someone. So, yeah, I'm going to continue. And this is Boaz part 3. Um, the last point I was sharing was Boaz being a generous giver. He gave generously. What he gave, there was always something left over to show. There's something that actually is evident of how he gives. Generosity is done in a way where it must come from a heart with no ill intentions or selfishness behind the giving. And what I also admire about Boaz being a generous giver, he wasn't benefiting from her. He was not sleeping with Ruth. He was just giving because he knows it's the right thing to do. And even for a man, before you get serious or before you get married to a woman, you do need to show that you're a provider. There must be qualities in you to show your generosity. And I'm not telling you to squander your money on lavish gifts or anything. No, you can just be the type of person who gives with such consideration. If she likes chocolate, you can get her a little chocolate every now and again. It's still give wisely, give within your means, because Boaz was able to afford to give generously, and that's what he did. So he gave with wisdom and he gave with generosity. Now, what I want to emphasize about the generosity and how he gives, when a man provides and takes care of you, and I want the men especially to listen to this, it should be noticeable. It should be noticeable. For example, Ruth chapter 2, verse 18, when Ruth took all the extra grains and everything she had, it says in verse 19, further it says, and her mother-in-law said to her, where have you gleaned today and where did you work? Blessed be the one who took notice of you. It was noticeable that she was being taken care of. That speaks volume. If you're with a man, or as a man, if you're with a woman, because I'm addressing the men in this as to who they should aim to be, with the right woman, of course. So as I did mention with Boaz, he did notice and know the good in her. It's noticeable where if you're with a woman and financially she's not better off being with you, or emotionally she's not healthier being with you, or spiritually she's not getting closer to God, you need to leave her alone, because you're obviously not giving anything of value to her. You need to go back to the drawing board, work on yourself, and come back to somebody else who, when you're more mature and ready, you know how and why you give, because he gave with purpose and he gave generously. So Naomi noticed Ruth was being cared for. When you give to a woman, it should be noticeable. Now, I love the fact that here's another quality in this man of God, Boaz. He was kind-hearted. He stands up for the lowly, meaning that he knows that things were not well. So being kind-hearted is the reason why he was able to exude kindness in words and deed without any ill intention. Because that's what it means to be kind-hearted. You feel for others and you give accordingly. I also want to believe that Boaz has discernment. The reason why I say this, it's because let's look at the fact that there must be a reason spiritually why he was drawn to Ruth. And it's not just because she was younger than him, and most likely she was a good-looking woman. It's the Spirit of God in him that made him a man of purpose to her. There is a reason why a man of such wealth was not already married. Because back then, especially when you have money, people would have been pawning off their daughters to men in those days, especially traditionally, in the culture itself. So with Boaz, his discernment, it's that it's not because there are not options for him. I believe that he was selective because of his discernment and obedience to God, because he didn't just pick anybody because we don't truly know the backstory of why Boaz was single, but what they emphasized was that he was a man who abided by God's law. And it takes discernment to know what are the right people to be around, what are the right rules to follow, what options are best for you. So I would say he has discernment and wisdom, because everything he did for Ruth was very strategic. He did everything that upholded both their reputations. He didn't pull her in a corner by herself. He didn't do anything to defile her. He was wise in his approach. I would also, and this is something that I really give him his flowers for. This is what I give him extra credit for. Boaz had self-control. And I just want to touch on self-control because this is something that unfortunately, most men don't have. This is why they have multiple women and sleep around, and anger issues where they abuse their woman. It's a lack of self-control. The lack of self-control will cause you to squander your money on brands and hype life when you should be saving, you should be wise. And you know the right things. Self-control has to do with knowing the right thing to do and even not and doing it. Because with Boaz, I want to touch on his physical self-control. When Ruth was laying at his uncovered feet, Ruth chapter 3, verse 8 to 9, he could have easily taken advantage of her. Instead, he asked who it was. And the fact that he actually let her lay there till morning and not try to touch her, this is a redeeming quality in a man. A woman should never, ever feel overpowered by you because you lack control or you force her to do something she doesn't want to do. He had integrity. Let's talk on integrity. He passed the true test of integrity. Integrity has to do with you doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Because you can put on a show in front of everybody, but what you do behind closed door is your true test of integrity. Boaz had integrity. He maintained respect for Ruth. For example, you have men who you say you want a godly wife and you want to date a Christian woman, but this woman, she will not go to bed with you, and that's a turnoff for you. It means that you do not have the fruit of self-control and you don't have integrity, because a man who is controlled and has integrity will respect that belief. And when you know God for yourself, you will know that she was actually abiding by the laws of God. It takes discernment for you to notice the things that she does as well. And this is how Boaz is. Everything that's done, he had discernment to understand why it's being done and how it's in alignment with God's word. And I would also want to say that Boaz was a man who preserved himself. He always made sure that he kept his record clean. He didn't do anything that could ruin his reputation. Not only that, he chose not to defile Ruth. Again, she's a widow. He could have his way with her because back then she could have been a concubine for him easily. But he did not do that. He was a man who preserved himself. And I believe that men these days, you have to preserve yourself. Be of some value too. The woman is the prize, yes, because God says the women are, he that finds a wife finds a good thing, and that a prudent woman is a gift from God. But a man should have self-worth too. Your body shouldn't be squandered around to every woman along the way. So he had self-preservation. Even with Ruth, her culture as a Moabite, it's similar to the culture of Sodom and Gomorrah in the sense that they would sleep around. But he did not defile her. He maintained his composure by preserving both himself alongside Ruth. Men, understand that the way you preserve yourself is also a way of preserving your woman or your future spouse. Self-preservation is very important as a man of God because there are doors you can open that can hurt you, your future spouse, and your family to come, or your existing family if you're already married. So I just want to emphasize that Boaz preserved himself and he showed faithfulness to God, true faithfulness to God. If you cannot be faithful to God, who can you ever be faithful to? Ask yourself that as a man. And woman, again, look out for these qualities in a man. So I'll be doing part 4 shortly, and keep following, I'll continue posting, and I hope it's inspiring someone. Thank you.